Today we're at the California Auto Museum in Sacramento, where they have this fantastic 1977 AMC Pacer. We've pulled this out of the collection. We're gonna go over it, get it running, and drive the heck out of it. I'm Alan Galbraith with the Concours de Le Mans, and this is On the Road Again. I've got with me here Joe Van Sickle, who is kind of in charge of the Pacer. Hi, Joe. How you doing today?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
So,
despite all the smoke.
So tell me the story about this Pacer. How did it come to the museum, and what's going on with it right now?
Okay, well, evidently the museum has had this car for over 20 years. According to the records that they have in the office, the car drove in here 22 years ago. For 20 years then it has sat here. So we came and put a battery in it. So a battery after 20 years was dead, so we put a battery in it. Tried turning it over, and it turned over quite well. So then we poured some gasoline, some fresh gasoline into it, and the thing started right up, unbelievably, after 20 years. So then the fuel that we poured into it was separate from the gas tank that's on the car. So we had to drain all the old gasoline. That's 20-year-old gasoline. By that time it was probably kerosene or fuel oil or who knows what it was. We drained that out. That was a lot of work. And then we found out when we tried driving it that one of its brakes had locked up. So we had to crawl under it and get the brakes unlocked. See, it was running a little bit rough. So we're doing a tune-up, putting new spark plugs in it, new spark plug wires, a distributor cap, and a rotor in it. It has, for a 1977, it was somewhat advanced in that it has an electronic ignition in it. But unfortunately, AMC evidently procured 2 different distributors for it. So the parts that we brought in this morning to do the tune-up are of one type, and the distributor that we have is of a different brand. So we're doing some juggling with the O'Reilly's Auto Parts to try to paste this thing together. A car that's what? It was 77, so that's what? That's a 60-year-old car.
Woohoo! It lives again! So we got it up and running. Joe did all the work. What we're gonna do is take it around the museum parking lot and get it outside in the light of day for the first time in a long time. Let's go. It's not too often you get to drive a car around inside a museum.
Power steering.
So it's just a little low on power steering fluid?
A little bit low on the power steering fluid, so I'll put some of this in there.
Well, we didn't get too far, only from over there to over here. Okay, take 2. We're gonna see if we get more than about 10 feet this time. like I was saying, oh, the steering works now. That's a good thing. When you're driving around inside a museum, you need steering. So something you don't normally get to do is drive a car in a museum.
So here we're being held up by a Maserati.
I think we can get past. After a fashion, the lights work. This is a very old car after all.
Okay, so this will be, we're not quite sure the brakes work.
Well, that's a good time to test out the brakes is when you're going down the ramp, right? Excellent.
Okay, great. Did you want to ride back in?
I'll follow you back in. So we got it up and driving. It's running under its own power. We're going to check a few things more out on it, and then we're going to take it out to some events and let everyone see it. That's worked out great. Yeah. So I'm about to get checked out to become a member of the road crew and be able to drive this 1977 AMC Pacer to events. I'm here with Dave Frank, who's a member of the road crew and is going to check me out in this car. Dave, what do we have to do before we get this car out on the road?
Pretty much what you do anytime you drive a car that's been sitting for a bit. Check the oil, check the water, check the tires, look underneath it, make sure that there's no excessive fluids under it, anything's been leaking. And that's about it.
Well, let's get to it. The hood opens on this one a little bit different than other cars. Let's check that out. All right. So the hood release is down in here. And you pull that. And it opens a little different. Comes forward. So let's check the water, make sure it's not hot. It's a little warm. That should be okay. No, it's fine. It's not. I don't think it's been running.
Braver man than I gonna get in.
There. I can't see. Glasses are fogged up. Well, looks like we're good there. Put that on, and dipstick I think is on the other side. Right there, if that's not transmission.
Looks like engine oil.
That is engine oil and it looks good. So we got the engine oil and the water checked. Let's look at the tires real quick, make sure there's none of them that are obviously flat, and start her up and go for a drive. Tires look good. The only thing left to do is get in it and go. Oh, she started right up, so let's take it for a little putt around the block. So we're back from our drive. How'd I do?
You did great.
Okay, well here's another car that we can take out. The only problem with this car is it has 20-year-old tires. It has the same tires it had on it when it was brought to the museum. So we're gonna have to get that fixed. I'm gonna go in and we're gonna order some tires and take this down to the tire shop. Then we'll be able to take it out to events. Let's do that next. Just to bring you up to speed, in our first episode, we got this Pacer to run for the first time in 20 years after it had been sitting in the museum collection gathering dust. Woohoo! It lives again! Then we took it out for a little test drive to make sure everything was safe and that I got checked out by the road crew on it. But on our way home from getting the new tires, we found two new problems. One of the front brakes had stopped working, and there was a pretty big leak in the radiator. So now we've got a tow truck on the way. We're gonna take it back to the museum. We're gonna get it up on the rack. We're gonna fix those problems, and we're gonna get this Pacer on the road again. Comes the tow truck. We're gonna get this loaded up, we're gonna get it back to the museum, and we're gonna get it all fixed up because we want to take this out to a lot of events. This is gonna be a really popular car out at Cars and Coffee, and it's gonna do a whole lot to help promote the museum. Let's get this loaded up and get it going. what was that? I think that's a future episode is what that is. So we're back at the museum. Joe is here with us again. We are going to take the calipers off the car, take them down to O'Reilly Auto Parts. I've got some that are ordered that should be the right ones. We're going to see if we can't get the car braking good today.
Put jack stands under it to make sure it doesn't fall on us.
Gotcha.
Ruin our day. All we've got is these big giant things here. These are made for
semis.
Working on locomotives and stuff like that, I think.
So it looks like pads aren't bad.
Yeah.
I'll get new pads while I'm down there though, because might as well.
Sure, yeah, since we got this far. Okay, so what do we have to do? 1, 2.
Is there,
Feels like 2 big bolts.
are there bolts? Well, that's the bracket. We don't need that to come out. I think what we need to do is this bolt right here keeps this keeper in. You take that out, this will slide out, and you can just pull the caliper right off. Ah, right there. And one of those might do. We'll see. All right, oh, here's a whole rack right here. Take all these. Alrighty, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
That out. Probably going to need a little percussion maintenance to get that out. So. There we go. I'll retrieve those, and this should just rotate out.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay, let's leave it in there because we have to get that brake line
Yeah,
off of there.
I'll retrieve these.
Okay, so where did that little spring
There it is.
out of?
That's it. Should just need to take
Brake line off.
that brake line off right there, and then this caliper will come free. Only a couple bolts hold everything in. Relatively simple design, relatively simple caliper. We should have this off in no time. There we go.
Okay. Now let me get some rags here.
So we don't spill brake fluid all over the place. There we go. It is free.
Okay, now let me just go. Let me go step on those brakes.
See if there's any fluid coming out there. Now that we got the caliper off, the brake line end is free. Joe's gonna step on the brakes, see if any fluid comes out here. That'll be a test as to whether it's that caliper or that master cylinder. It might be both. We're gonna find out. Fluid looks pretty good.
Yeah, it's a little bit low on the back.
A little low in the back. Well, we'll get some fluid while we're down at the shop. So let's check this out. All right. There we go. Joe's going to step on it. Tell me when you step on it. I've got nothing here. Still nothing. Say that again?
So we've got some kind of a blockage somewhere.
Yeah, I was getting no fluid.
No power. Well, let's take, we'll just work our way backwards. We'll take this, we've got a fitting over here. We'll unhook that, press on the brakes and see if there's any fluid through that metal line.
So we're going to work our way back up from the caliper. There's a brake line, a flexible brake line that goes from the hard line to the caliper. We're going to disconnect it there to see if there's fluid coming out the hard line. If there is, we know it is that flexible line from the hard line out to the caliper. We just got to replace that.
Oh boy.
We got this special tubing wrench so you don't round off your flare nuts, and this is going to do it. There you go.
Okay, so let's go back up to the front.
All right. Okay, so we got that fitting loose. What we're going to do now is Joe's going to step on the brake pedal. I'm going to point the camera down at that junction. We should see, hopefully, we are going to see brake fluid come out of that junction. That will mean that soft line is the problem, and we can just replace that. Let's give it a shot. Hold on. All right, go ahead and step on it. Oh, yep, we have fluid squirting out there. There is fluid squirting out that line.
Okay, I'm just looking a few times over. Okay, so there's a healthy amount of fluid coming out?
Yep.
Okay.
So we have found the blockage. It is in that soft brake line between that junction and the caliper. So I guess the next thing we do is see if we can replace that brake line, right, Joe?
Yeah.
You know, this is, we had planned on doing a little bit more work today, but it turned into a bigger project than we thought. So we are going to call it a day. We're going to come back next time and get this Pacer on the road again. I'm Alan Galbraith with the Concours de Limones. We got this 1977 Pacer running and driving for the first time in 20 years. Then we discovered a problem with the brakes and the radiator. Had to have it towed back to the museum, found the problem with the brakes. Today we're going to fix the brakes and we're going to pull the radiator out to see if we can get this car on the road again. We called O'Reilly Auto Parts. They have all the parts we need for this Pacer. Let's go down there and pick them up. So we've made it down here to O'Reilly Auto Parts. We're going to go in and get our caliper, our brake pads, our hose. We're gonna get some brake fluid and some grease for the calipers to ride on the mounts. Let's head in. We're gonna need some brake fluid. It takes .3, so let's find that. It's even on sale. Howdy. Have an order for Galbraith? Yeah, it should be here.
Yeah, D91. Perfect.
Brake pads should have caliper and a hose as well.
Okay.
Caliper and hose over there?
Yeah.
Let's see this one. Yes, sir. There.
Let's see if these look familiar.
Did you want any brake grease with that?
Yes, please.
You got it, boss.
Let's see. Yep, those do look familiar. All right.
Did you do 2 brake hoses?
Yes.
I remember that. Just make sure all these numbers match, bro.
See those hoses, see if they look familiar.
You might have to save your bracket or something, but I think you're good actually.
Actually, the bracket is on there, and it looks familiar.
Looks solid.
Yeah.
Look at
awesome.
that. That's yours, okay?
All right.
Everything was paid for, so we're good to go. Let me just ring you up for the brake grease real quick.
Okay. And these two, and that looks familiar as well. Outstanding.
Well, we can get you everything you need, man.
All right. And I got two of those and the brake grease.
Sounds good.
Had everything we need right here at O'Reilly's.
Yeah, glad we can help you out today, man.
So we got the parts, we got the hood open. Let's get working on it. So I got a wire brush. We're gonna clean up the brake perches so the caliper floats back and forth on there real good. Once you clean it up, before you put the caliper on, you put a little bit of grease on there, make sure it all slides nice. Take a look at how thick and thin these are. Yeah, it was about time for new brake pads. Turns out there is a left and a right caliper, and we have 2 left calipers. And the way we found that out is right here. You can see the part number has an L with it. And you look over here at this caliper that's still on the car, you can see that where the hose comes in, brake hose comes into the caliper, faces up. Which, when you put this one on, there's your opening for the brake hose. It faces up as well. But if you were to put it over on this side of the car, that faces down and that brake hose isn't long enough. So we got two left sides. We're gonna have to take one back and get the right side. In the meantime, we're gonna put this side on and get it buttoned up. I'll take this part back down to O'Reilly and exchange it for the correct one.
Okay, well, we got a problem.
Okay, what's the problem?
Those tiny little tubing fittings.
Uh-huh.
We used our tubing wrenches on this, the driver's side brake line tubing last week, and as the same on the other side, it's really frozen on there. The tubing fittings are so small, they're like 3/8 inch fittings, and as happens, it's rounded off.
Oh boy.
So we've got I've got some good old vice grips on it right now to see if we can salvage any of this and get this off of here. If that does not work, then what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to cut the brake line, the metal brake line, up in here someplace, reflare it, go down to AutoZone or wherever and buy a length of tubing, steel tubing, and splice that in here.
Just make a junction for it.
Yeah. So that's what I was trying to do right now, was trying to see if I can get that thing loose. I've pounded on it with a hammer and then squirted it down with the penetrating oil, and we'll see if we have any luck whatsoever. It's just a real tiny little
Did it just come loose?
Yeah, see?
Did it just come loose?
If you take time to talk about something and curse it enough,
It works?
it works. Cursing is not a bad thing. Okay.
We
Good.
just got it loose. That little bugger right in there. Well, it's rounded off, but
It's all rounded off, but
we don't have to cut it, and we can just use vice grips to tighten it back up again, and it'd probably be good for another 40 years.
and then the next mechanic that works on it,
Can cuss at us.
he'll be saying, "What in the?" Whoops, sorry.
Oh
Sorry
no,
about
we can bleep that out.
Okay, let's have some better luck on this one. It looks like it's going to slip right in.
There we go. So one thing I did do is I went and picked up a set of shop manuals off eBay Motors. It's going to make this a lot easier. Picture of a hammer, tapping that in. It looks like, there you go.
There we go.
There we go. And a little bit more. There. All right.
Oh, there we go. Okay, so this is our special torque wrench. Torque specifications are
Till you can't.
45 foot-pounds, and there it is.
There it is. All right. Okay. So we've done all we can today on this side of the car. We're going to have to go back to O'Reilly's, take that caliper back, get the correct one, come back next time, get the brakes buttoned up, get the radiator out of the car, and then we can get this car on the road again. I think we found the leak. In the last episode, I had ordered the wrong brake parts for our 1977 AMC Pacer. You've got to get the right parts in hand and installed. Then we can move on to removing and finding the leak in the radiator. We are back at O'Reilly Auto Parts. We hopefully got the correct caliper that we need this time. Let's go in and get that and get this car back on the road.
For Alan?
Yeah. See if this is the right one. It goes on that way, and this is up. Let's see, it goes on that way, and this part is up. Yep, that is the correct one. That's a good sign. All right, let's go get this put on. Now, when this caliper goes on, the piston goes to the inside, and that banjo bolt right there is facing up, just like the other side. Turns out these calipers are not the same. One has an L and one has an R in the part number. You can see it cast in right there. And I had ordered 2 L's. My mistake. We've got the right one now. We're going to get it installed and get this car on the road again. calipers on both sides installed. Now we're going to bleed the brakes. Since there's two of us here, we're gonna do it the old-fashioned way. One up top, pouring some fluid into the reservoir and slowly pumping the pedal. The other person down at the caliper, cracking open that bleeder hose, or that bleeder valve, and waiting until just fluid comes out. We need to get all the air out of that system. So we're going to start on this side since it is the furthest away. We're going to bleed all the air out of this side, and then we'll go to the other side. Crack that open. Joe is going to slowly pump the pedal, which is going to pump some air and some brake fluid this way. Close the bleeder valve so that when he lifts off the brake pedal, it doesn't suck air back in. And what that'll be doing is slowly pushing brake fluid down this line to this caliper.
Okay, well, good. So we've got what appears to be brakes, we hope. Alan's going to test it out, so God bless Alan.
Yeah, I'm the guinea pig. I get to go out and drive the car and make sure the brakes work. First big test of when we go down the ramp leading out of the museum. Now that we got the brakes done, the tires are back on, we got to get this radiator out. In a prior episode, we had taken it for a drive and noticed that there was a big leak coming out of the radiator. So we checked it out. It's not coming from any of the hoses. It was coming from the body of the radiator itself. So we're gonna have to pull this out, take it down to the shop and get that fixed. Looks like there's just some bolts right along the top here and the fan shroud that hold this radiator in. It's just set down there. There's no ears along the side. So a lot of these radiators back in the day just fit down into a slot, had a cap that went on the top of it. You should be able to just lift it right out once you take that cap off, take the hoses off. Let's give it a try and see what happens. Oops. Boy, they come off easy, huh? So it says here in the shop manual that this should just lift off. And if this is loose, this should just lift out.
Okay.
All right. And you can actually see where it was wet. There was a leak somewhere right in there. So we're going to take this down to the radiator shop. We're going to have them pressure test it. And I'm willing to bet we find a leak right where that wet spot is. And then we're going to see if we can get it fixed. They may have to re-core it, but let's go down to the radiator shop and see what they have to say. So we got it down here to Radiator Creations. They're gonna take a look, see what's wrong with it, see if it can be repaired. We're gonna do some pressure testing on it as well.
It's right here, looking pretty bad. You can see all the buildup.
All this buildup right here, all this calcium development, that's solder blossom, and the solder is going bad. So technically, we don't even have to test it to be able to tell you that your core is shot.
All right.
But
Yeah,
we'll test it
we'll
just so we
definitely
can
test
get
it for
some more information on the tanks itself, make sure there's no major damage or cracks going onto the tanks.
Alright, you just keep it so it doesn't fall off. Did it. So we're tightening down these plugs so these things don't shoot off. We're gonna let the pressure build as soon as I put air to it, and then we'll see the leaks after as soon as I put the pressure on. We got one final one and we'll be ready to test. Alright, should be ready to go ahead and dip. When we test these, sometimes if you don't initially see a leak, usually tap on the headers and then it should usually break free whatever debris is blocking it in, and then you'll start to see the leaks come out. But I think it's pretty bad to the point where you'll probably just immediately see it, all the leaks come out. Alright. Nope, that's the core. And I'm going to situate it a little bit better so you can see it on this side. But you can pretty much hear the core. Pretty bad. Is that how it's sounding in the car?
Yep.
Wow. Yep. Up around the tubes, but unfortunately it looks like it's going to need a new core.
I think it's pretty obvious where the leak is.
Yeah, so I'm going to stand it up so you can see. So pretty much all that buildup you saw, they're all leaking pretty much. There it goes. So, tapping it so you can bring out the leaks. Like sometimes this blocks it in so much, all the leaks, that it won't actually start bubbling for me. But once you start tapping it, you'll start seeing it go.
Right here, it's completely seeing the bubbles spraying out.
You can pretty much see all of it right there. If I were to take away at it instead of talking about
We're going to see if anybody makes a replacement for this. AMC was pretty parsimonious when they built their cars. They used a lot of common elements all across the board. Like our brake calipers were only $25. We're not going to get that lucky with the radiator, I'm sure, but it might be a common piece.
What model?
Pacer. I did a
If
coolant.
I go through this whole book, I would normally look at these measurements right here.
Right.
And I could probably find one for you. but I have all these to go through.
Gotcha. Okay.
Then we have, if we have to recore it, we have all these different options.
Okay.
These would be the differences.
You see it's much finer and the tubes are closer as opposed to this?
Yeah, this is what you have in there now.
Okay.
So if it was like an everyday driver and you had heating problems, we would probably consider maybe going to something like this. Or if you want to keep it standard looking, you can go with this and add this style too, which adds another 15 to 20% cooling. So there's all kinds of different options we can do.
Different
if we
ways to
to
go.
record.
Okay. So we're going to see if there's something that's compatible. There's a lot of different radiators to dig through. AMC used a lot of parts from different cars, so it's likely that this is cross-references to another car, and there might be one that is ready to go, just a replacement. If not, what we're going to have to do is recore this radiator. It requires taking the tanks off, building a new core for it, and then soldering it all back together, cleaning it up, pressure testing it. We're going to wait for a call back from the shop here to see which is the way we got to go. But either way, we're going to get this Pacer on the road again. So we had dropped off the radiator in hopes that somebody made a replacement for it, something that would just drop right in. Hopeful that that's the case because AMC, they used a lot of parts from a lot of different suppliers. So let's ask and see if there was anything we could find. Was there anything that would drop in?
No. Went through the book, all the pictures, nothing.
Wow. Okay, so what's our option? We got to recore it then? To basically build
so we're going to actually record.
Build a custom radiator, in essence, using our tanks.
Well, we're going to reuse your tanks, and I noticed that they do have stamps in them, so that'll keep the authenticity of it. And what we have is, this is the style core that is in there now, but to add better cooling, we're actually going to upgrade it to a high efficiency. So as you can see, there's a lot more tubes and more fins per inch.
Yeah, we definitely want that because we're going to be driving this thing all over, and during the summer it has air conditioning in it. Once it gets warm, we're going to want to get that up and running, so needs to be able to sit in traffic on a hot day with the air conditioning going. We want as much cooling as we can get.
Yes.
Let's go out to the shop and get this thing record.
Since we're going to go with a recore, we're going to have to strip off these tanks. Then we're going to have to measure it up and figure out exactly what the correct size is to fit around these tanks. So we're going to drip out all the solder off in order for me to pop off these tanks, and then pretty much there we're going to get a core ordered, then be ready to put the tanks on after we get it off. All right.
So the fill side finally popped off, and here's the interesting part to it. It has a transmission cooler. Now you think transmission cooler, it's this big elaborate thing. It's really not. Take a look. That's it right there. That is the entirety of the transmission cooler. Line hooks up there, and it's just a hollow tube that the transmission fluid goes through. The water washes over, cools it down, comes right back out. There's really not that much to it. There's all kinds of crud here in the here on the tubes. So what about that? I mean, is that typical, or what does that do?
It's typical in a lot of older radiators. So if it's an original core like this, you're gonna usually see that all the years of work have put in. So all this buildup, those could possibly seal leaks that you've had for a while. Well, as soon as you start putting pressure to it and you start beating on it, it'll break free all those leaks that didn't show up as initially.
Okay, so now that the tanks are off, what we're going to do is measure up the core, send those dimensions off to a place that's going to make us a new custom core. Then what are we going to do, Lawrence?
And then from there, we're going to take your tanks, we're going to clean it all up, get so the edges are all cleaned up and tinned up so we can have them bond back onto your next core, and then we'll resolder all the connections so it's all fresh solder.
That's going to make this Pacer run and ride nice and cool down the road. We'll be able to take it out in the middle of summer, run the air conditioning, and look cool doing it. So a couple days ago when we were here at Radiator Creations, we found out that there wasn't a replacement radiator for our AMC Pacer. We had to have one custom made. That core is now here, but the next step is to solder the tanks on, maybe even put a little reinforcement in there, build it up a little better than even the custom core that was built. Add some extra strength to that, get the tanks soldered back on, pressure test it, make sure it's all sealed up good, then we can take that radiator down, back to the museum, get it in the Pacer, and get that car on the road again.
Right now, I'm putting a little flux on the core. It'll allow me to, it'll allow the solder to move a little bit better. So yeah, I'm going to be building up these tubes to reinforce, and it'll increase the durability of your radiator overall. Expand a little bit better so it'll slide right into the seam as soon as I throw these clamps on. My girlfriend.
Your girlfriend?
Yeah, she knows I work on radiators, but she doesn't know anything about radiators, so this would be a pretty nice thing for her. We're gonna pop the fill neck off and we're gonna clean out all the debris underneath, and then we're gonna put some fresh solder back onto it. It's nice to rather clean solder.
So Lawrence has gone over this and added a lot of extra strengthening to weak spots in the radiator. Has gone over and double checked all of the joints, redone them, made sure that they're good to go. But before we put this in the car, Lawrence is going to take this, rig it all up again, and put air to it, and we're going to pressure test it. Hopefully there's no bubbles like there was last time. So we started up, we're gonna let it warm up again and recheck the radiator. We're also gonna let it warm up and check the transmission fluid.
Pretty good.
The pacer is warmed up a little bit and we found a leak. It's not in the radiator, it's in the radiator cap. We need a new one.
I'm just wondering if that. There you go. Okay.
Well, that answers that question if we had a good radiator cap or not.
We need a new one now.
I'll take the broken parts down, get us a new one, then we can once again warm this car up, make sure that the radiator is full, and then start taking it for laps around the parking lot. In our last episode, we had installed a custom radiator in our 1977 Pacer.
Looks like it.
Only to find that the radiator cap had gone bad. So we got a new one, we're gonna get it installed and get this car on the road again. So we've got a new radiator cap on. We're gonna run it here in the museum for just a little bit to make sure everything is watertight. The Pacer only has a warning light for overheating, so we're going to use this temperature gun to make sure it doesn't overheat here in the museum. Then we're going to drive it outside, drive it around, make sure we're good to go. So the car's been running for about 10 minutes now, and all the readings look good. It is nice and stable. It hasn't really warmed up because it's just sitting still. It's time to take it outside and drive it around, see if it warms up a little more. So I think we've done about 30 miles here in the parking lot. Let's stop and check the temperature one last time. Well, we've been driving the Pacer around and around in circles for a while now. We've checked both sides of the radiator and the radiator hoses. It is running nice and cool. I think it's ready to go on a long trip. So after all the work we put into the car, it's time to take it out on its first event. I've come down to Santa Rosa for the Breakfast Club rally. Since it's going to be an early morning start, I drove down from Sacramento the night before, just so I didn't have to get up so early, and so I could find any problems along the way before the rally starts. And guess what? I found one. Somewhere along the way on the freeway, the front hubcap came off and the back one started getting really loose and rattly. Now, in typical AMC fashion, they're a little different than other hubcaps. They don't just pop on, they screw on from the back of the wheel. So we've had to just take this one off. We'll solve it later. We can go on the rally without hubcaps. So I'm gonna take that extra hubcap and put it in the back hatch. Fortunately, there's a lot of room in there, but I didn't want a whole bunch of stuff rattling around. Fortunately, Think Tank Bags makes organizing bags for photography, videography, and for road trips. I've got the Think Tank long haul bag in here, and it holds everything I need for this trip. I've got extra fluids, I've got car parts, I've got a drone, and I've got some of my photography gear. It's gonna keep things organized, easy to get in and out of the car, and it's gonna be a great addition to this road trip. Just so happens, one of my best buddies is Ted Meister from Think Tank Bags. He's gonna come along on this trip. He provided the bag for us. It's gonna be fun, and we're gonna keep things organized. Let's get going. Hey Ted, we ready to go?
Let's rock.
Okay.
All right.
Well, we're heading in for the Breakfast Club rally, and we just got passed by a Maserati Bi-Turbo, the extraordinarily rare, not currently on fire edition. It's rare enough to see one of these in any kind of shape, but running and driving down the freeway is really rare, and he's going so fast, the Pacer can't keep up. All right, we made it. We're gonna pull in here to the Breakfast Club rally. It's for a bunch of unique cars, and I think the Pacer qualifies. Are you using Griot's Garage products?
I am using Griot's Garage products. I am all Griot's all the time, in fact.
Outstanding.
Yes.
What do you guys think?
That is awesome.
I like the blue. I like all the blue color and the design on the seat.
This yours?
It's California Automobile Museum.
This is cool.
What do you think?
It's fantastic.
Damn it, look how cool this is. Look how cool this is. This is awesome. Is this your car?
It's the California Automobile Museum.
This is fantastic. This interior is awesome.
What do you think of it?
It's awesome. Very retro. I like the Southwestern style.
What do you think?
I think it's wonderful. I want one.
Seen the seats inside before.
The basket weave interior is pretty cool.
It's pretty crazy, yeah. And
my aunt and uncle had one of these, and I remember driving in it. I think I was in the trunk when I was about 7.
So the cars are starting to roll out. They go by groups. The fast group's going first. Then there's a middle group. The Pacer is definitely in the slow group, so we'll be one of the last few to leave. Ted is going to be our navigator. How's your confidence in navigating, Ted?
Go left and go right and head toward the sun.
rally here. This is Franz Valley Road, and it is windy and twisty, and we're doing all we can to keep the pacer up with the Mustangs and the Panteras at this point.
It's like we're in a bathtub.
We were doing pretty good on the rally, which is going by us right now, having fun on the twisty roads, and guess what? We've got another problem. The transmission is totally kaput. We've got plenty of fluid, but it just is worked. It's slipping, won't stay in gear, won't come out of gear. So we are kind of done. So we are kind of done, but fortunately the rally has towing from our good friends at Haggerty. So we're gonna give the Haggerty tow truck a call and get the pacer towed back to the museum, and we've got another problem to fix. So hopefully there's enough transmission left to get the car from there up to there. Haggerty's Roadside Assistance has come to pick up the car. It's going to be taken back to the museum right now. We're going to get back there, we're going to work on it and see what it takes to get this car on the road again. I'm Alan Galbraith with the Concours de Le Mans. We pulled this 1977 AMC Pacer out of the collection of the California Automobile Museum. Got it running and driving for the first time in 20 years. Had a couple problems with the brakes and the radiator and thought we were good to go. Took it out on a rally, only to have the transmission crap out on us. Today we're going to get it on a flatbed, take it down to the transmission shop so we can get this car on the road again.
Are you ready to see if there's any metal in it?
So we got the car unloaded and we're here with Tom Paget, who owns the House of Automatic Transmissions. How you doing today, Tom?
I'm doing great, especially now that this is here.
Yeah, well, so it needs a little bit of work. We lost the transmission on a rally. Hopefully we can get it out and get it rebuilt.
Not a problem. That's what we do. Been doing this since 1968, long before this car was ever made.
Well, if you have any transmission needs, please come down to House of Automatic Transmissions. They are a good supporter of what we're doing, a supporter of the museum, and you should support them with your business. What do you say we get this car up on the rack and get it going?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Are you ready to see if there's any metal in it? We do have some material in there. Not bad at all. Actually, not bad. Looks more like soft metal material, maybe clutch. Could also be torque converter also have gone out, because that silver is another good sign of that. May be caused by the torque converter also failing. Let's see. We'll take the valve body off and then we'll get into the pump. We'll start taking things slowly one by one, and then we'll start taking it apart and see what actually failed and if there's any of the other damage that we need to be aware of.
See how the indentations? The filter was trying to suck up the oil and it couldn't, and it just kind of sucked the filter. Or the pump was trying to suck up the oil and it couldn't. It just sucked in the filter because of the debris here and then there. You see, you don't see any indentations where the material had gotten sucked in. Underneath the material, there's a perforated metal backing, and then the old filter was being sucked into those holes or perforations in the metal backing, and so you can see the difference between the two. And then here we've got the clutches, clutch plates, band, support bushings, seals, all the gaskets and rubber. And the most important part that doesn't come in the box is the knowledge and understanding of how to put them all in the parts, all in the transmission.
So there was more of the material that clogged up and got sucked in, and you can see it all on here on the valve body where the filter was sitting on there. And then I just took off all the bolts here that hold the valve body on, and it just literally just comes off. Boom. Got the parking ball. You got the spring here. Piston. Sometimes there's a spring back there, and not this time. That looks fine. That looks fine. Usually, sometimes we find the band broken, or the linkage broken, or this band broken. somewhere. Sometimes that will happen as well. So this is what your pump looks like, and then you got your pressure stuff inside the transmission there. See, that doesn't look good. That doesn't look good right off the bat. See, this is the one that probably did sound good when I was air checking it. We'll grab. So this is what your clutches look like. They're not completely bad, but see how this one's brown and then the other ones are black. Those are signs of it starting to go out there with it getting hot. And then we'll take this one out, and this is the one.
This one operates all forward gears. This one operates just third gear in reverse. And then the band operates second gear. And you can see how the material, the center part of the band is black and the outer edges are brown. The black part indicates it was slipping.
So here's the clutches.
And that indicates it was slipping really bad because there's nothing left.
Yeah, there's nothing literally. That's your clutch, and it's literally bowed. You can flex it. It's bowed out.
And you can see the lining on that clutch. You can see the lining is missing. It's worn right off, and that's what the debris is that you saw in the pan and in the filter.
Yeah, that's.
Well, that explains it.
Yeah, that explains it. But that's not uncommon considering the mileage.
Yeah.
And age and whatever.
The transmission came out pretty easy. It came apart pretty easy, and what's wrong with it is very evident. So we're going to replace all new parts in this, get it cleaned up, and get it back in. So we're back at House of Automatic Transmissions. The case has been all cleaned up, all the parts have been cleaned up and laid out, and we're going to put it back together today.
We're going to assemble the clutch drums. We're going to put the rubber seals on the pistons for the clutch drums, then we're going to put the pistons inside the clutch drums, the return springs, then we're going to replace all the clutches, and then test each clutch drum for the clearance, appropriate clutch clearance. And then what we're going to do is we will reassemble the oil pump for the transmission and then put everything inside the case and button it all up. Wondered about these things. I wondered, how did somebody, an engineer, come up with that? And I always wondered, did they get him from an institution, or did he end up in an institution after he came up with this idea?
basically, we got this already built, and in the process of going to be putting it back in, and then we're going to be filling her up, and then test driving and make sure that where everything works, and then so that way the Payson can get back on the road.
For how the shifts actually feel, to make sure there's no slip or slide or anything like that, and then paying attention to when, about what speeds they shift at, to make sure that it's not shifting too early or too late. So far both of those were fine, and we'll try passing gear. Yep, passing gear works fine. So we'll just drive it through the neighborhoods here and go through several shift patterns, stop and go. Right on full.
So it's back in, it's buttoned up, it's road tested, and you've checked it. We're good to go?
Absolutely. I think we're good to go.
We're gonna get the car back to the museum. We're gonna get it parked up on display. And then I'm gonna search eBay Motors for more hubcaps. Then we'll be ready to take this out to events.